Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Ali Imran bin Zubair.
Assalamualaikum. My name is Luqmanul Hakim bin Ishamuddin.
Assalamualaikum. My name is Righteous Era binti Rajin Syafiqin.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Nur Humaira Idina binti Azri.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Nur Atika binti Khairizai.
So the era of the righteous caliph began from the Caliphate Sayyidina Abu Bakar radhiyallahu anhu and ended with the death of the fourth caliph Sayyidina Ali radhiyallahu anhu. So during this period, the caliphs rely heavily on consensus, ijma' and personal reasoning, ijtihad, to solve the problems that were not clearly mentioned in the Quran and Sunnah. So there is the problem solving procedure that Caliph followed. Firstly, they would search a solution from the Quran. If it was not found, they would refer to Sunnah. If still there no clear evidence in the Sunnah, they would call a meeting to reach a consensus of major Sahabat. And if the agreement not reached, they would pretend to do his own ijtihad. So for example, when Abu Bakar do his own ijtihad, Abu Bakar used to say, this is my opinion. If it is correct, it is from Allah. And if it is wrong, it is from me. Then I ask forgiveness from Allah. So similarly, Umar al-Khattab would inform people whenever his opinion was based on his own ijtihad. So during this period, many companions practice ijtihad. Some like Ali bin Abi Talib actively shared their views. Different companions, different approaches. Some companions refer different meaning of the Quran, and some others look for the reason and wisdom behind the injunction. So, if the opinion contradicted an authentic hadith, they would immediately correct it. So in this era, to conclude, the era of the Khulafa ar-Rashidin was the golden era of the method of ijtihad, based on strong faith, knowledge and sincerity in seeking Allah's guidance.
So, during the time of Umayyad dynasty, things have started to shift in the Muslim world. The caliphs are more focused on centralized government, and the courts become much more sophisticated. You can see musicians, magicians, and even poets hanging around. It was a time of luxury and expansion, but also a major transformation. While the rulers were busy managing the empire, there are something going on behind. The scholars, our true heroes, are in hard work. You see, as the Muslim world expanded, there are many issues that are going around that haven't happened during the era of the Prophet. The scholars felt the responsibility to address this issue. They developed a systematic legal systems which to derive rulings from Quran and Sunnah. This was the birth of fiqh, or as we all know, Islamic jurisprudence. It was during this period that the foundation of schools of thought were laid down, such as Hanafi, Hanbali, Maliki, and Shafi'i. So to conclude, during this era, while all of the royals are focused on expanding the governance, the scholars are working hard to address this issue for all of the Muslims in the centuries to come.
The method of ijtihad during the Abbasid era, also known as the Golden Age of the Islam. During this time, Islam experienced major intellectual growth. The government of the Abbasid era strongly supported the education, science and scholarship. This led to the emergence of the great Islamic jurists such as Imam Abu Hanifa, Imam Maliki, Imam Ash-Shafi'i and Imam Ahmad bin Hanbal. The scholars developed structured method of ijtihad. Independent reasoning used to derive legal rulings when there were no clear text from the Quran and Hadith. During the Abbasid era, Ijtihad was not an individual process only. It was often supported by the Shura, which meant consultation among scholars. Scholars frequently gathered at the mosque or intellectual institutions such as Bait al-Hikmah to discuss and debate complex legal and ethical issues. This During the Abbasid era, Ijtihad was not an individual or process only. It was oftenly supported through the Shura, which meant consultation among the scholars. Scholars frequently gathered at the mosque and intellectual institutions such as Baitul al-Hikmah to discuss and debate complex legal and ethical issues. Through Shura, opinion was shared, analysed, and refined to reach the most just and practical rulings. Debate also became a method to refining ideas. Scholars and their students would openly discuss various legal questions. This debate is not aiming to win an argument, but to discover the truth and strengthen Islamic jurisprudence. This intellectual environment led to the development of the major madhabib, which is Hanafi, Maliki, Shafi'i, and Hanbali. Islamic empire was growing fast, stretching out to the place like Russia, Persia, and even places like India. With all that expansion come a bunch of new challenges. People were facing all sorts of issues that needed an answer, and the scholars had to step up and figure things out. But here's the cool thing: the scholars didn't just sit around. They developed different methods of ijtihad in order to find a solution to this issue based on the general principle provided by the Quran and Hadith. So basically, it was like a respected debate club, but with a deep knowledge and a serious dedication.
So in this Abbasid era, scholars traveled far away just to learn. They moved from region to region, learning from different teachers just to bridge gaps between different school of thought. During this time also, scholars start compiling and organizing the Sunnah. That made things easier because they didn't have to keep proving whether a hadith is authentic or not, because it also been compiled and organized in this era. Then comes the consolidation period, it was pretty intense. This period where the Mongols stormed into Baghdad and basically brought the Abbasid dynasty crashing down. But even with all this chaos, something interesting happened. Scholars really start to organize their thoughts and debates. Instead of everyone doing their own thing, discussions became more structured, and the major school of thought, which is called the Madhahib, started to settle in. By this time, only 4 main mazhab remain, which is the Hanbali, Hanafi, Shafi'i, and Maliki. So here's where the things get controversial. Some scholars say that let's stop doing ijtihad because it's getting messy. And we need to keep things consistent. So they push for sticking to the established rulings instead of coming up with new ones. So here's when a practice called taqlid began to spread. So what is taqlid? Taqlid means blind following of a particular view without knowledge of the basis view. So instead of coming up with new rulings, they start to just stick to what a particular mazhab have stated. While taqlid helped preserve consistency and unity in Islamic law, it also reduced the spirit of independent reasoning that once flourished during the Abbasid era. So in conclusion, the Abbasid period was a remarkable age that balanced ijtihad through shura and scholarly debate, while later emphasizing taqlid to maintain order.
This part of the story begins with the fall of Baghdad in 7th century of Hijrah. Life was very hard at that time, but it also marked a new beginning for the development of Islamic law, which is known as fiqh. This period continued until the rise of Ottoman Empire, which founded by Osman, and last until the empire started to weaken because of European colonial powers. During this time, many scholars only follow what earlier scholars had said. This practice is called taqlid, which means following past opinion without questioning. However, some scholars disagree with this. They say we should go back to the Quran and Sunnah and think for ourselves. These scholars support Ijtihad, which means using reasoning to make rulings directly from the main Islamic sources. Some famous reformers who promote Ijtihad were Ahmad ibn Taymiyyah, Muhammad ibn Ali al-Shawkani, Shah Wali Allah al-Dihwawi, and Muhammad Abdu. They were very brave and wanted to bring change. Even though some people criticized them, their ideas later influenced many other scholars and ordinary Muslims. Still, most of the people continue to follow their own mazhab, which sometimes cause competition between different schools. Another important event during this period was the codification of Islamic law. This means that a group of scholars came together to write down law in organized way, creating a legal book called Majalah al-Ahkam al-Adliyah. It was a big achievement. Later, during colonial times, Western countries like Britain and Netherlands took control of many Muslim lands. They brought their own law, and slowly Islamic law was replaced by Western law. Even after these countries gained independence, many of them continue using those foreign systems, except in a few areas where Islamic law was still being practiced.
Ijtihad is not a rebellion against tradition, but a bridge between timeless principles and changing realities. That's all from us. Thank you!